I am many things. Some people call me a media practitioner. Others call me a documentary filmmaker. Others an actor. Others a journalist. I believe differently. I believe that I am a modern evolution of a traditional West African figure, the griot. Griots in tradition are the custodians of our culture and our history, our oral memory of what has transpired before. Over time, we have seen the evolution of the role of the griot from entertainers, storytellers, and town criers. They have evolved and become our modern day media practitioners, our, you might say, voice of the voiceless. If you think of modern day griots, you might think of Steve Biko, the South African anti-apartheid martyr, who is best known for being the founder of the Black Consciousness Movement. If you think of Biko, think of the phrase "Black is beautiful" and what it means. Or our own Liberian, Edward Wilmot Blyden, whose writings formed the basis for Pan-Africanism, which the African Union is a direct fruition of. Now, in addition to these, we've had in Liberia Albert Port, Kenneth Y. Best, and the late Charles Leone. Men who inspired others to push the envelope in how we thought, how we dialogued, and how we wanted our nation to move forward. As a kid, my aunt used to call me the TV guy. Reason being that any TV station, anytime, you call me 7 o'clock in the night, what's on NBC? I tell her right away. CBS, same thing. Any station you wanted, I memorized the TV guide every month. And that memorization, it enabled me to multitask, some might say. I flip from channel to channel. And as I flipped, I would listen and see people like Dan Rather. On radio, Robin White, Max Bankole Jarrett, and Elizabeth Blunt. They helped to shape who I am today, how I think, how I act, how I speak, and who I aspire to be. In that tradition also, we've seen the evolution of a new generation of griots in Liberia and elsewhere due to the digital revolution. We've seen people like Henry Costa, Mamadi Diakite, as well as Rodney Sie evolve. And their evolution and coming to fore has a lot to do with one simple thing: the cell phone. This little thing has allowed us to become content creators and distributors at one touch. Liberia has an internet penetration rate of 4%. Imagine that, 4% of Liberians have access to the internet, but a mobile penetration rate of 78%. And that 78% is what we need to focus on. Because through that mobile platform, they have access to the internet, the world's largest source of knowledge ever in human history. And through this platform, they are able to become content creators and distributors of their very own. With the advancement of digital technology, people have learned how to process, share, and create information in different ways, as they shape how we think, how we believe, and how we interact with each other. We have learned, one, to trust more visual communication. Two, to trust information that comes from those who are closest to us. A phenomenon that you might have seen just in the US elections. Now, as we are aspiring to be content creators and new age griots, so to say, there comes a caveat: responsibility and accountability. We have to be responsible for what we create and put out there, and we also have to be accountable to our society. Going back to griots, they served as custodians and they were accountable to the society in which they lived. And that tradition has been carried on. And it has to be the watchword of what we are. Otherwise, we will see the rise of extremism, ideologies that harken back to fascism, and so on and so forth. During Ebola, the cell phone allowed us to, one, gather and share information to an unprecedented degree. It allowed us to fully grasp what was happening even though we weren't in Lofa or Nimba or Newtown or Smell No Taste where we had high incidences. It allowed us to communicate and better share information that helped to stop the spread of the EVD. I use that example because You Report, which is a program which is sponsored by UNICEF and DivX, utilize young people and their cell phones, their mobile phones, to gather, disseminate, and give information. Creating platforms of content, creation, and distribution. As New Age griots, or people who have stories to tell, who want to tell the stories of our world, we have to look at accountability and responsibility, but also how we want to push our dialogue and our nation forward. In this vein, a few friends of mine and I, we sat down and we looked at it and we were like, how can we really impact our nation positively as we're going forward, especially in light of the elections next year? And we decided to create a platform or a program wherein we will get youth in Monrovia to start with and Buchanan, teach them how to use these digital platforms with the intent of creating a new generations of griot who are not based upon social, economic, or political status, and whose only desire is to be seen and to be heard, to influence positively. And as we teach them how to use this platform that this cell phone gives to record, edit, and put out there to influence the world around them, we want to create a new generation whose voice is not limited by political ideology. We want to create a new generation whose ideas are Liberia, Africa, and the world are society first, whose aims and ambitions are simple: create factual information from within the communities where we live in, disseminate that information knowing that we are accountable for what we are putting out there in our society, and three, preserving the knowledge that has passed before and that we are giving out. In other words, being New Age griots. Just think about this. We're in a digital age where everybody who's on Facebook has an average of 3,000 to 4,000 friends. Just think how much one person can touch if you use multipliers of 5. Think in a nation of Liberia where cell phones constitute our major means of communication and information dissemination. Think about Liberia, where the 78% of people who have cell phones are more than the registered voters. Think about what can happen, what we could accomplish in this nation if we had a new generation dialoguing from within their communities, from Zwedru to Monrovia, from Banga to Buchanan, sharing their experiences, their decisions, which could then push our national dialogue forward and push our thoughts, how we want to move our nation forward in this next step of our democracy.